The continued attack on Nick's credibility escalated last night when Elon Musk joined the fray, suggesting that Nick is, quote, an asset of some kind. Nick ratioed Elon in a mere 30 seconds when he responded to the accusations, saying everybody can see what you are doing, attached with an image of the definition of bad jacketing. This all comes in response to a flurry of attacks launched from both Candace Owens and Milo Yiannopoulos that Elon responded to in the first place. In just a few hours later, Nick went on to America First to address this attack from the Matrix.
And so I think I said on my show last week, I said the next move is they're going to come in heavy on my reputation because that's what they've been doing. I said that on Friday. It is Monday. And look at the big guns they're pulling out. So first Candace Owens, then Tucker Carlson, because that wasn't enough, and now Elon, because that wasn't enough. And, you know, maybe you're skeptical. I think it's pretty obvious what they're trying to do. I think it's pretty clear as day. What are the odds? I have 50,000 people watching my coverage of Israel's attack on Iran. I have 70,000 live viewers on Rumble watching my coverage when America attacks Iran. All of a sudden, Candace Owens takes an interest in me. She does a show. Hit piece. It backfires. Everybody rallies on my side. I keep getting bigger. So Candace runs over to Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson says he's a CIA agent. Yeah, he's an insecure little boy. He's in his parents' basement. And that backfires spectacularly. All of a sudden, Tucker has an interest in me after not saying my name for years. All of a sudden. And it backfires. I'm bigger than ever. I keep getting bigger. Bradley Martin, Sam Hyde, people like Glenn Greenwald, Ian Carroll defending me. It's undeniable. Charlie Kirk getting roasted on his show. What do they do today? Elon Musk comes in. He's a federal asset. Haven't had any interaction with this guy for 7 months. All of a sudden, he's got something to say. And he has something to say to Milo, of all people. And you know what's interesting? After Candace Owens went on Tucker Carlson, who does she have on her show the week after? Milo. Now, did Candace Owens ask Milo about how he's been calling her husband gay for 5 years? Did she call him out? Did she start out the interview with Milo by saying, you talk a lot of shit, and show the screenshots and the videos? No. You know, Candace Owens, who claims to be Mrs. Tradwife, Queen Tradwife, Milo's been calling her husband, George Farmer, a homosexual and saying it's a fraudulent marriage for 5 years. Did she call him out on that like she called me out? No. Just like how she didn't call out Harvey Weinstein, who they conspicuously collaborated with. So she does the show with Milo, and then a week later, Elon is replying to Milo, calling me a fed. Super, super interesting. So we're going to unpack all of it. And as I started to say before, I think it's pretty obvious what's going on here.
Setting last night in motion was Candace continuing her crash out as she pushed for a second debate with Nick, this time moderated by Dan Blazerian. Then when Nick turned down the debate, Candace accused Nick of being a coward. This was Nick's response.
She's challenging me to another debate. And I'm supposed to do this. Why? Because the first hit piece didn't work? Because the second hit piece with Tucker also didn't work? Now what? I'm supposed to hop on an airplane, fly to your house, cancel my show so you can take another swing? Because we all know how it went over the past couple of weeks. Did not go according to plan. So she asked me if I'm going to do her show. She tells Dan Bilzerian, get Nick to do my show. And Dan says, I'll moderate. She goes, oh, he loves you. Great idea. So I'm thinking about how to reply to this, and then she puts me on blast on Twitter. She posts a screenshot. It's now a public challenge. Before I can even reply, you better come down and do my show and face me. So I'm responding to this. I'm in my Candace Owens feud era. And I was going to talk about that during the show tonight, but briefly. Then it gets better. Elon Musk jumps into the fray out of a clear blue sky, out of nowhere. Elon Musk replies not once, but twice to two different tweets by Milo Yiannopoulos accusing me of being a federal asset or a federal informant in what is obviously coordinated.
Now, one of the line of attacks that was floated out by Candace Owens last night was that there is no explanation for why a random French guy would give Nick $250,000 in Bitcoin before committing suicide. Nick addresses that accusation head on in this next clip, while also framing where his accusers were just a few years ago.
All these people that are accusing me of anything, sorry, where were they? In 2017, I was at Charlottesville. You know what Milo was doing? He was informing to the FBI about Richard Spencer, who organized it. In 2017, I was talking about Israel and about the racial replacement migration. You know what Tucker was doing? He was on Fox News taking money from Rupert Murdoch. Candace Owens, I believe at that time, was at Turning Point USA, or she was running a dox site to dox bullies on the internet called Social Credit or something like that. Where were you in 2019 during the Groyper War? I was leading young men into a war against Charlie Kirk saying, why are you pro-legal immigration? Why do you put Israel first? Why are you promoting degeneracy when you should be promoting Christianity? Where was Candace Owens? She was working for Turning Point USA. Where was Milo? Who even knows? Doing cocaine somewhere. Where was Tucker Carlson? He gave us a little shout out on his show while he was pushing a colorblind meritocracy, inclusive populism. And then in 2020, think of this. A French guy who is sentenced to death. Life could not get more unfair. Some people get rich getting paid by Dennis Prager. Some people make $20 million a year getting paid by Rupert Murdoch. Some guy, by the fortune or misfortune of being born, is sentenced to a life of unbearable pain that cannot be ameliorated or cured. Now, he could have just killed himself. There's a lot of things he could have done. He writes a suicide note and says, killing myself is a selfish act, but I'm going to go out with a selfless act. I'm inspired by Nick Fuentes, by Ron Unz, by Andrew Anglin, by Ethan Ralph, for that matter, by Andrew Torba. Before I die, I'm going to give them my money so they can keep up the fight that I can't do because I'm in so much pain and there's nothing that they can do for me. And I receive the money and I go and put myself on the line at these rallies. I go and they're telling me, we can't protect you from Antifa because of who you are. If something happens to you, we can't protect you. Milo's getting told by the feds, don't go, it's going to be terrible. And so he stays home. But I'm there to support the president, to prevent this thing from happening. And the pattern is that I fought. Candace keeps saying this is something that happened to me 10 years ago. This is something that has been happening to me. Been happening. Over and over. For criticizing Israel, I got a Media Matters hit piece about me written. People are trying to kill me at Boston University. For going to Charlottesville, I got fired at RSBN. For pushing the issue, I got banned from PayPal. A year later, Ashley St. Clair got fired for being in a picture with me. When we led the Groyper War, I got banned from YouTube because one of Trump's fixers leaned in and they called me a Holocaust denier and smeared me that way. After I went and fought on January 6th, I had my money frozen. I got banned from DLive. I lost my livelihood and my career. I got banned on Twitter 6 months later. I made no money for years. I was operating at a loss just to keep the live stream going on Cozy TV. And then I get accused of being a Fed after all that. Now in the middle of this, calling out Trump correctly.
Milo, on the other hand, pushes the more common narrative, saying the only reason Nick had his funds unfrozen in 2021 was because he snitched to the FBI. Nick addressed this tweet directly on air.
This is under oath. This is under penalty of perjury. So you have Milo telling me on January 5th, the feds are telling me not to go. And I'm like, oh, really? Then you have under penalty of perjury. And by the way, people went to jail over perjury on this or over obstruction. Under penalty of perjury, they say, did you turn over devices? Did you talk to law enforcement? Could it be more unambiguous than this? He said, I can represent, to his knowledge, he has not been interviewed by any law enforcement, federal law enforcement, any law enforcement, or turned over any devices or anything else. And do you know how broad that is? No, nothing of that sort has ever happened. This was a full year. So back to Milo's question from the other tweet. Milo said, remember when Nick had his money frozen by the DOJ? Ask him how he got them to unfreeze it. Answer, informing. Then ask why it was or when it was unfrozen. Ask for proof. Well, I showed you. They froze it in January 2021. They unfroze it in July 2021. He says, why, when, ask for proof. There's the proof. I have an email from Elizabeth Alloy. She said, we froze the funds because of J6th. We have the legal order from the DOJ that says, we froze your money on the 23rd. We unfroze it in July 2021. We have a statement from my lawyer under oath, under penalty of perjury, saying he did never interview with the DOJ or FBI having anything to do with J6 in any way ever. So if I informed to get my money frozen, then how could all of these things be true? Because if I informed to get the money unfrozen, that interview would have taken place between J6 2021 and July 23rd, 2021. But in January, when did the testimony even happen? I got subpoenaed in January 22. I think the interview was later in the year. So if the alleged informing took place in the first half of 21, how can my lawyer represent in 22 that I never interviewed with law enforcement? Who would I inform to? If I was informing to get the money frozen, it would be about J6th during that window of time to the DOJ and the FBI. That's federal law enforcement. So either my lawyer has to go to jail and we have to go to jail for obstruction and perjury, or what's more likely is that a patriot, someone who actually is selfless, gave their money to me because they were inspired by the show, killed himself. It was like a wrong place, wrong time thing. They took an interest in me, in the money. They froze it. The 6 months that they could legally freeze the money without filing charges expired. They couldn't file charges because it was legit. They released it. And then a year later, I said I never talked to law enforcement. And there it is.
But Nick doesn't stop there. He publishes leaks proving Milo was working with the FBI and details them step by step.
You know, the good thing about telling the truth is you never have to worry about getting caught up in all the lies. That's a good thing. You know, when you're a liar, you have to worry about text messages from 4 years ago because the story's always changing based on what suits. But first, let's start with the text messages from Milo. This is January 5th, 2021. I said, hey, what did the feds say to you? Apparently, Baked Alaska got a visit as well. On January 5th, the day before J6, Milo posted on his Telegram channel that the feds told him something about January 6th. Milo replied, Lots of Proud Boys are getting them. I think they're trying to keep obvious targets away. It would not serve their cause if Enrique or Gavin or I were killed. It might actually kick off a right-wing riot at last. It would not serve the federal government's interests if Milo, Gavin, or the Proud Boys were there at J6. That's why they were warned. They want Republicans simmering, not boiling. Just between us, I was given a friendly warning that no law enforcement agency would be able to guarantee my safety. They basically said, we're asking you not to go. If you insist, it may become an instruction, meaning an insurrection, I think is what they meant. Or rather, they're ordering him not to go if he means instruction. We're asking you not to go if you insist, it may become an instruction. The FBI is telling him, you are hereby ordered not to go to J6. This is the day before. No one knew what was going to happen. No one knew there was going to be a riot. This is the afternoon of January 5th. And Milo says the feds told him, don't go. If you insist on going, we will order you not to go to January 6th. He says, looks like Enrique just got banned from the entire District of Columbia. I said, shit, okay. Thanks for telling me that. I'll keep it between us. Well, in case you lie about it 4 years later. I agree with what you said on Telegram. Something's up. I have a bad feeling about this one. Unmatched perspicacity. Imagine shooting a man with your last bullet. He stands there unfazed. I said, I'm going to go to the Trump rally at the Ellipse and then get out of Dodge. He said, that would be smart. Don't be out at night, whatever you do. And honestly, I would just not be out and about. You are recognizable enough now. Rally and fuck off is smart. I said, yup. Too much funny business going on to play around. Milo said, I've heard of 5 Proud Boys so far who got visits from the feds this morning. Mostly New York guys who weren't home or already left for DC who had it on their Ring cameras or their wives answered. I said, do you know if the feds had a similar message for them? He said, asking, don't feel left out. I said, I'm happy to be left out, LOL. Okay? This is the person accusing me of being a federal informant or asset during, before, or after January 6th. Somebody who literally received a tip the day before, along with apparently a dozen other people that were told, don't go to January 6th. That's what they were told. This is the person accusing me. So just so you understand, this is not even a good faith accusation. Milo has accused me of a lot of things over many years. Your viewership's botted. Your Twitter's botted. You've embezzled money. You are a dick to your followers. You're a bad boss. You're a fed. You're an informant. You're not an artist. You're this, you're that. You're with Ali. Around and around and around it goes. If somebody is just flinging shit at you constantly, looking for something to stick, that's a political attack. That's not somebody that's investigating the truth. Somebody that has, and if you look at Milo's timeline, it's literally just thousands of tweets about me every day for years. Every accusation under the sun. Oh, but looks like we found one that might work. This one's convenient. That's what it is. And this is the person saying it. He was talked to by the feds himself.
What most people don't realize who are far outside politics is that even inside of the dissident right, there are factions that are highly skeptical of Nick and attack him for similar reasons. But one of those normal detractors had a change of heart based on the actions of the accusers, with the Ferryman's Toll writing, "The irony of this is that I have been skeptical of Fuentes' involvement in January 6 for a long time. But the fact that you and every other shitheel from Con Inc. are attempting to coordinate this assassination after he just wrecked Owens and Carlson is making me think he has always been innocent, which signals to me that Nick Fuentes' effectiveness at being a wrench in the system is becoming undeniable, and all the more reason to be concerned for his safety. That is where I will leave it. Let me know your thoughts if I missed anything, and as always, I will see you guys in the comments. Peace.
Smash that like button.